Well, I don't know. Tell us.
I have to take questions.
I really like this separated fight. You know, all the money talk. Was that kind of just to get in his head? Does that help like you out?
It was a little bit of both, you know what I'm saying? Because at first I thought it was a little animosity, but it was more people from like where we were from talking, and we were hearing it, so we just ran with it. And then, you know, I think of he's a great man, a great father. He fights for his kids, so you know, some of the talk he thought I was respecting his kids and his family, but I would never do that. You know what I'm saying? Never. Just that I might be an asshole a little bit, but I'm not that big of an asshole.
Were you surprised by how easy it was to take him down?
Nah, because I wrestled with Kevin Jackson, John Smith. I used to train with Steve Mocco and Daniel Cormier, you know, Kerry McCoy, Charlie Thompson. I'm naming guys you probably don't know. You know them.
I know.
But I used to wrestle. Even then, I remember wrestling men in practice. You know, I wrestled with world-class wrestlers. You know, all the other stuff like the NCAA stuff is cool. It's nice. It's a great accomplishment, but nothing like representing the United States overseas, going to Dagestan and Mahashkala, going to Iran, going to Uzbekistan, Azerbaijan, Turkey, going to them countries and representing the United States. It's a whole different level. You know what I'm saying? You got NCAAs right here, wrestling for the United States, world team is all the way up here. No comparison.
You talked about maybe a possible rematch with Daniel before a title fight. Is that something being discussed?
I don't know. I just threw it out there because I wanted it to happen. I'm open to anything.
So is the animosity all gone now between you and Jacob?
Yeah, it's, you know, because when we went in there, you know, when two competitors go in there and fight or compete, you know, after it's all said and done, nothing but respect. Because I threw everything I could at this dude, man. I was hoping he'd be done at the first round, because most of the guys I fight, after the first round, they're sleeping, or this dude was stood right back up, and I was like, damn, okay. The second round, for sure, I'm going to get him. Couldn't get him out there, and finally, the third round, he couldn't see. That's why the fight got stopped, because blood got in his eye, he couldn't see. But if the blood would have got in his eyes, it would have went all 3 rounds. You know, he's a tough dude, man. Tough.
Well, big night for the wrestlers. I mean, you guys take a lot of pride in seeing guys that you went through wrestling with do so well alongside you here.
Yeah, a lot of pride. You know, and I feel like a lot of the wrestlers, especially in Bellator, get no respect. I'm gonna tell you this: anybody at 170 is not out wrestling Ben Askren. I wrestled Ben Askren when he was at 84 kilos, and I beat him twice. The first time I smashed him. Second time was life and death. I beat him, but I was like, this kid is weird. He's a hard guy to wrestle. And Ben Askren, just because he's not in the UFC or some other organization doesn't mean, you know, what you saw today would happen to any other top fighters at 170 in the world. He could do what he did today, playing around, not getting tired, wave it into the crowd, look at his fingers, slap you. He can do whatever he wants to anybody if he's in the mode. He's always in the mode.
How come you're not fighting Rampage?
What's up?
How come you're not fighting Rampage?
Well, Rampage is he's fighting Tito Ortiz. Eventually that might happen. I don't know what's gonna happen. I gotta win this belt first, and then we'll see what happens from there.
TNA, a lot of support. They came out on Twitter. Kurt Angle, Dixie Carter, a lot of the guys. Does that make you proud that those guys support you on this side?
Yeah. You know, people don't understand how tough pro wrestling is, and granted, people aren't laughing at me like, oh, it's pro wrestling. Well, go out there and take a few bumps. You know, make them change your mind. And the fact they look at me like I'm a coworker, and I look at them like we're coworkers, and there's a lot of mutual respect. You know, it makes me feel real good. Maybe me want to fight harder for my people.
Is this the happiest you've ever been in your professional career?
Yeah, actually, here and when I fight Strikeforce, because you know, it's more like a family type of atmosphere, and everybody was cool. You know, we didn't have to worry about nothing. All we had to do was worry about winning. You know, and that's what Bjorn, he's like that, and that's how Scott Coker was. So, winning Strikeforce and Bellator, I'm happy with it.
So, Mo, any thoughts about this Olympic challenge that wrestling has, and things that you might say to make people understand the value of the sport?
Well, I'm gonna put it like this. One thing wrestling does for MMA is when you have a guy that came from a high-class, a world-class wrestling background, that brings legitimacy to MMA. You know, you don't see that. You know, granted, you might see in judo, guys come from judo, win a medal, but wrestling, you have a world-class wrestler. That's a world-class athlete competing. Everybody else, like you know, I can go get a street fighter and be like, he's world class, and people buy into it. But he has no accolades. Ben Askren has accolades. I have accolades. All the people you see that wrestle in the United States have some type of world class accolades or high level national accolades, and that it brings more legitimacy to the sport of MMA. Without wrestling and some other grappling Olympic sports, what can you say? Who could you say is world class? You can't say anybody. Mark Coleman, one of the first world-class wrestlers you seen hit the scene, and he changed the whole landscape up. He was so dominant, they had to change the rules to the ground and pound. Every time you see a world-class wrestler step into the game, things change. And I'm gonna tell you straight up, eventually they're gonna have to come up with some rules to make, especially for guys like Ben Askren, to make it more even for his competitors because he's just that much better than everybody else at 170.
Do you want on that pay-per-view card, or are there already talks that you're going to be on there?
I don't know. Whatever they want me to do, I'm down to do.
What are your thoughts on that matchup? Just as a fan or part of the organization?
You know, I think it's a great matchup. Both of them matches. They know each other. They used to train together. And, anything can happen in MMA. You got some people out there probably negative, like blah, blah, blah. But you know what? I'm going to watch the fight. If they don't, they just missed out on a good fight.
Who you got?
Who I got? The fans.
As Dixie Carter said,
Tito is going to train hard for this, and Rampage is definitely going to train hard for this. So you're going to get the best out of both fighters. You're going to see a war. Or a quick knockout. I don't know, one or two.
Hey King, when you get that belt, will you melt it down and make a custom crown?
Actually, when I melt it down, when I get the belt, I'm going to make some adjustments on it, make sure I put a spinning thing on it. So the Bellator piece will spin, in the middle of it on. Kind of like John Cena did.
Can you talk about your relationship with Cormier and Roy Nelson right now and the fact that those two are fighting? Is that tough?
It's tough, man, because Daniel's a guy that I used to wrestle with. He was my first college match. And we became cool. We wrestled on the stage together. He was my coach. And I trained with him, AKA. But then I got Sensei Roy, who's helped me step my game up. I spar with him, worked with my jiu-jitsu, my grappling. And I'm like kind of in between both. I've known Daniel longer and I'm closer to him, but at the same time I'm working with Roy, so I'm just going to step back and let the best man's going to win.
It'd be like Greg Jackson, you won't be in either one's corner.
Yeah, no one's corner.
Yeah.
has Dixie Carter said anything about you possibly going back to TNA in between your fight?
Well, as a matter of fact, I'm going to OVW to finish up my pro wrestling school because I take the pro wrestling serious. Anything I take, step foot into, I go 110% into. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna go back to OVW, Ohio Valley Wrestling, do more dark matches to prepare for TNA.
And have you thought about like actual tag team name for you and Rampage?
I like Southern Discomfort.
And I'm going to be the manager too.
With the mic, actually, I'll give you a tennis racket. Jim Cornette.
What was the name again?
Southern Discomfort. You know what I'm saying? I like the name.
Rampage just joined the main event Mafia. What do you think? He next?
I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. I like the look. I think he fits in well with the main event Mafia. We're gonna see what happens with his pro wrestling school. Because once he gets done pro wrestling school, then he'll be able to take his game to a whole different level, and maybe even change the landscape of pro wrestling now.
Who's your pick on Tito and Rampage?
The fans. Because I'm gonna tell you this. I can make predictions off of what I think can happen, and I go off two different scenarios. But at the same time, anything can happen in combat sports. Period. In wrestling, I've seen guys up by like 9 points, need 1 point away from the tech fall, get pinned. I've seen guys in college 1 point away from the tech fall, get pinned. MMA, you see guys that dominate somebody and get knocked out. Anything can happen in combat sports. And I know that for a fact because from wrestling, I've seen everything you see in wrestling. A lot of guys, a lot of people in MMA don't really watch other sports, but I watch combat sports, boxing, kickboxing. I still watch amateur wrestling. I watch the Russian Nationals. I watch the U.S. Nationals. I watch the trials. I watch everything. So you can figure out the trends on because I'm not trying to get left behind.
Can Roy Nelson drop down to 205? Can that happen in combat sports?
Negative. Unless he gets on some crack, some meth, and some powder, that's the only way he can make it.
What's your thoughts on our Colorado boy Ryan Martinez tonight?
My boy Mija, that's what I call him. He's a tough dude, man. He'll be back.
He hurt his hand, right?
Yeah, he hurt his hand, but I think that we're gonna get back to work, and I think he'll hold his belt. He'll get the heavyweight title.